My name is Brittany Frankie, and I'm the Youth Leadership Committee Coordinator. I'm going to be introducing everyone that we're going to be interviewing for this special Speak Poet Saturday Youth Leadership Committee edition. So here's my little handle. It's me, Brittany Frankie, and I'm going to be letting people in. Come on in. Caitlin, our usual host, who today is a guest.
Hello.
Next up, there's their handle. Next up, we have Chandler, who is a new addition to the team.
Hi.
Say hello to Chandler.
Woo! Hi, happy to be here.
Next up, we have Pierre-Philippe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Our social media person and overall joyful human being.
Period.
And finally, last, but definitely not least, it's our CEO of Arizona Masters of Poetry. Say hello to Suzanne.
Hello, everybody. So excited to be here. Hello, all of you cool cats. So excited. And thank you all for being here with us. Thank you for watching this. If you're watching a playback, we are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. We are not live on Instagram, but we are so excited that you are all here with us. And I'm excited to get to be the host this time. Caitlin, thank you for hosting. But I wanted you to be in that guest seat for a change. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start with a couple questions, and then I'm going to ask you all to share a little something. So, Pierre-Philippe, I'm going to start with you. So you had a really unique experience coming to AMP in that you and a friend of yours, Griselda, had come to AMP events in the community and then said, hey, we'd like to bring this into our school. Talk to us a little bit about how having a spoken word club and creating one within your school really changed your school experience and maybe changed the atmosphere on your campus.
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really happy I could be here and chat with you guys. So yeah, like you said, my friend Griselda and I went to some of the AMP community center events. And that's kind of how we were introduced to Suzanne and the idea that this was even a thing in the first place, which was really cool. I had never even thought about having this kind of as an outlet. And then when we considered having it at our high school, it was one of the best decisions I think that all of us could have had. The impact that we had, it's still going on today. We had a Carmen club at my high school. For those of you that don't know, Carmen means poem in Latin, I believe. I think I'm wrong, but I think that's right. Anyway, it definitely played a really big impact in my senior year, which is when we had it, and all the upcoming school years that were going on, and all the students that needed that sort of creative outlet, and it just kind of formed a safe space for students that didn't have that otherwise. And I think that's really cool that we could provide that for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to jump to you, Caitlin. Your experience was unique in multiple ways, but I'm going to ask you to touch upon something that we had never done and we continue to do as a result of the success with your experience. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like to be in a community team, because I know that the second year you were a part of Arizona Masters Poetry and Hotter Than the Sun, there was a couple students from several different schools who wanted to be a team but didn't necessarily have a team at their school. And we actually formed a community team with a community artist. So talk about that experience and what it was like to be a part of a poetry community sort of outside of your school, but also connected to your school.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting because the way that I met Suzanne and the way that I found out about AMP was there was a team on my campus during my junior year of high school, but I was really busy. I was doing track at the time, so I couldn't be part of it. But my senior year, the team at my school kind of fell apart. But honestly, I think that being on a team with people that I had never met before was really, really exciting. It helped me be more creative. And I feel like we all had our own very different, unique styles, but we still worked really cohesively well as a team. And our coach, Michael, was really great. I think he did a really great job. And Suzanne's mom, Shirley, the love of my life, Shirley, if you're out there, I love you. She was also kind of a co-coach for our team. So she was at all of our practices, would give feedback to us. And we got to practice in a community center, which was really exciting to get to go somewhere that wasn't my high school, and be in a room with just other people who are writing and working on their poetry, and practicing with them. And I think that it definitely helped me build more connections within the AMP community because we did all come from different places. So I thought that that was really cool. And I'm really glad that it played out the way that it did because I really liked our makeshift little team.
Thank you. And I know Michael, actually, I met at a community event. It was a poetry slam, and it was like an adult poetry slam. And we met, and I just said, you have such a way with words. And, I don't know if you ever worked with youth, but I think that you would be a great mentor. And yes, my mom was a teacher at Paradise Valley High School, actually, when Brittany was there. And that was the impetus. She wanted to be involved and stay connected. And so she was supporting a team at her school and then later a community team. But the beauty as a teacher, a longtime teacher, to see youth from different schools not just come together, but also come together to write a group poem and to form bonds that last beyond that experience was really heartwarming. And it also opened up a completely new opportunity to make community teams instead of just school teams. And so we actually continued that and had a team the following year. This year is a little different because of COVID. So it's not a team-based activity this year for our festival. But thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to jump some questions to Chandler and Brittany, but before I do, I'd like to hear a little bit of poetry. So I'm actually going to put you on the spot because I love to do that. And that I love on-the-spot writing. It's something that's always been a part of Hotter Than the Sun. It is something that I've always asked people to do. So I'm going to ask you to do an on-the-spot haiku. So for those of you watching, a haiku is a 3-line poem. It's 5 syllables, then 7 syllables, then 5 syllables. And typically it's about nature, but it can be about anything. And so I'm going to give you a prompt or a topic, and then I'm going to ask all of you to take maybe 2 minutes, come up with a haiku, and then we'll all share them out. So your prompt, Brittany, thank you for sharing those in the comments. You're so great. Is effective communication. Whatever that makes you think, feel, envision. You don't have to use those words in your haiku. It's just to give the feel. So I'll give you 2 minutes. Britt, you're included. You have to write.
Of course, of course. And please, if you are watching this right now, go ahead and write with us.
And for those of you watching, one of the best things to do when writing haikus is to sometimes use your hands for counting to see if what you're coming up with is actually 5. So I don't know if any of you are doing that. I was doing it down here below because I'm working on my
me too.
For all of those of you watching writing haikus, this is a great ability and a tool that you can use are your hands while you're creating words and poems.
Yeah, I like counting on my hands. I also like tapping, and so that gives it a little bit more of a kinetic feel to it. So
yes.
just
I usually
always
have to
trying.
do this. where you count how many times your chin hits your hand.
I'm going to experiment with the layout of our live stream while we're doing this. See if, ooh, that's fun.
And give us a thumbs up when you're ready with your poem. We'll give everyone maybe another 30 seconds or so if you're not done. Okay, we got a couple. Don't stress about it. It can be fun. It can be silly. Think about your favorite movie, favorite character. Okay, and we'll go one at a time. We're going to start with Brittany.
All right. Open your mouth wide. Remember who's listening. Speak your honest truth. Oh, I think you're muted, Suzanne.
Oh, sorry. That was wonderful. And so I'm going to go next, but it's so funny because we were on the same wavelength for the first line. I said, open hearts, speak truth. Open minds, listen with love. Voices unite us.
Ah!
All right, Chandler, you want to go next?
Sure. Message in the brain, sharing between two people, hoping for a match.
Love it. All right, Pierre-Philippe.
Hi, y'all. Okay, cool. Our show is blurry, but we want to keep watching. We changed the channel.
Ooh.
Okay, poetry.
I love how varied and diverse these are, given the same exact effective communication prompt. Love it. Okay, Caitlin, what you got?
Okay, this is my haiku. It's for somebody who's watching. You know who you are. Wild curls and soft eyes. You hear me when I'm silent. You listen to me. We love love.
For a second, I thought you were talking about me, Caitlin. I was like, not in front of everyone.
Who said I wasn't? I said you know who you were.
Well, I love it. You hear me when I'm silent. That's so powerful to think about that, right? Sometimes we do sit in silence, but you can say so much without saying anything. Beautiful. Thank you all for sharing. And yes, please feel free to write yours in the comments or go on Arizona Masters of Poetry Instagram or Facebook pages or even on the YouTube live and go ahead and type yours in and share with us. We'd love to hear your haikus about effective communication or what that makes you think of or feel. So speaking of feel, I'm feeling like we need another poem. And one of our guests can't stay the entire time. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Pierre-Philippe, if you would like to share a longer piece that you prepared prior to On the Spot.
Hello. Yeah, of course. I happily will. 1 second. Let me just pull it up. How are we all doing today? Are we doing good? I'm having a great time.
I'm Vibe Central Station.
Vibe Central
my
Station. I'm hangingout.com.
Yes.
Period. Yes. Period. Give me 1 second because I cannot.
Yeah. So while you're pulling that up, I will just share a couple things for everybody. So this group here that we have are all part of our youth leadership committee. And what that actually means is that they were a part of AMP in some way before now, and now they're coming back to give back to our youth. So they're all between the ages of 19 and 28, and they're no longer technically kids, they're adults. And so they are giving back. They are a youth leadership committee. They are leadership who are young, mentoring other youth. And so we're so excited to have them. They have been through this pandemic, just amazing, a beautiful blessing, helping make sure that we reach out in many different ways through open mics, through workshops, through our social media. And for many of them, this is actually something that's a part of what they're doing in college or what they did in college. So being able to use their majors and the skills and the things that they are learning in college or learned in college, and then be able to have some experience working with those in the real world and in an area that they are passionate about, in a community that they already feel a part of. So it is an honor to be here and interviewing them and having them all share pieces of themselves and their poetry with you. And with that, Pierre-Philippe, I'm going to pass it over.
Hi, y'all. Okay. So one thing about me, I'm a hopeless romantic. And I wrote this piece for a little special someone. Okay, it's called The Universe. You looked at me differently. It was an interest I hadn't seen before. A spark, a buzz, the feeling of white noise comfort. You smelled like a home I never knew, and played with my apartment keys. I let you in. Sometimes I think I have the entire world in me, all of the bookstores, ice cream shops, and graveyards in one, fighting for there to be one. But when I look in your eyes, I'm reminded that the entire universe is in you. Shoelaces, mountains, the noise of running water. Comets burn in your eyes. You aren't a key, but you are a hand to hold mine. This isn't something I've had. I have to quickly pick up the pieces from before. I spent years shaking the magic 8-ball, asking questions of romance, fate, words, the dark leaving a message. And I fell in love with how you emphasized your sentences. The slight lisp and curve of your lip. I'm listening. But there was still a construction site on my sleeve. Oh, you can read blueprints. It's coming. The day we can leave and run from the blood-stained allowance money. Our trip is starting soon, and no matter how hard we prepare, we're still just start running. Because we have the universe within us both. Maybe we can burn together.
Okay, King. Okay, poetry. Okay, love.
Pierre-Philippe, one question follow-up to that. So I had the honor of meeting you years ago, and when you were sort of new to spoken word poetry, slam poetry world, and getting to experience your growth as a human being, as a writer, as a learner over the last 4 years, I believe 5. Yeah, it's been a long time. So talk to us about just sort of as a follow-up to that piece, like how has writing outside of, we know that it's therapeutic to write, right? And process what we're feeling and what we're going through, and our mental health and our emotional well-being are improved when we write and share. But talk to us about how writing has really been a part of your life and maybe how it's helped you grow and improve over the last few years.
No, definitely. I think like what you said, it's obviously very therapeutic, and being able to put your thoughts into words is both like a form of effective communication. And also I think just kind of character growth in general, if that makes any sense. It helped me learn a lot about like what I'm passionate about. So like right now I'm actually minoring in film and TV and creative writing because of this. And like I think it's really cool. Like I would have never known about this aspect of myself had it not been for AMP. But I don't know if I answered the question. Yeah, I think it's really important, and it's nice to do that. So put your feelings, I don't know, when you can like there's power in like identity, I think, and like being able to like point at things within yourself and be like, oh, that's what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think working with youth, you know, your middle school, high school years, and I would argue some of you are in them, but your college years are really that time of developing your identity and really understanding who you are and getting clarity on What do you value? And like you said, what are those character attributes that you feel are your strengths and that you want to continue to grow, or that you don't have that you want to develop? And so hearing you say that it was character growth, and also learning about yourself, those are two powerful things that we do get out of not just writing, but I would say that in the sharing of our writing and in hearing other people's work, really there's a lot of growth that happens that way as well.
100%. I fully agree.
Yeah. Any of you Youth Leadership Committee awesome individuals have a question for PP?
I do. PP, my love, my liege. My question is, how would you describe your writing process? Does it come to you more in bursts? Is it something that you work on for a long time? Yeah, what's your writing process?
I think it depends on like what I'm writing in terms of like poetry.
Yeah, we'll go with poetry.
Poetry, okay, period. I have like a diary and like the notes app. And every now and then, I think throughout the day, we'll get tiny little like bursts of beauty, I guess. And I usually write like a sentence or like a thought down, and then kind of like compile that like at the end of the week or like at the end of the month or something, or whenever I'm like wanting to compile. It's less sort of like I will sit down and I will do this whole thing now, and more of just kind of like picking little beautiful moments throughout my time, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, I'm the same way. Cool. That's so fun.
Okay. No other questions or any other questions? I love that. Actually, can we just throw that real fast to Chandler and Brit? Because I know you just said you have a similar process. Like when you just day to day get inspired, like what's your writing process and where do you write that? Do you have a little notebook? Do you use your note app? Do you prefer to do voice recordings? How do you capture? I love that bursts of beauty. How do you capture those bursts of beauty or those moments of thought? Or a great line you hear that you're like, ooh, I want to come back to this. Did you want to speak to that?
You can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, mine is honestly pretty much the same. I use my notes app. Something I've been starting to do is also do it on my computer. I really wish I just had one place to write poetry, but sometimes it's just like the nearest thing. So I just have like random notebooks and pieces of paper. Sometimes it's just a napkin to write things down. Sometimes it's just text to my girlfriend. Yeah, but I also just have those like random bursts of beauty in my brain, and which is nice alliteration. And I'll just put it as like where I can lock it away somewhere as soon as I can before I forget about it. Yeah, but then sometimes I do go back to them, and I try to put more structure to them when I've had a little bit of time in between.
Yeah, that I'm totally resonating with that, with just trying to get something out and put it away, because either it's like I think this is a good idea and I need to let it sit, or just the very like practical, I do not have time for this sort of thing. And when I can do that, it's really nice. Sometimes for me, the idea comes and it's just like, okay, Minerva out of Zeus's head, I gotta deal with this right now. And so those are often some of the better ideas though. So there's a lot of that cost benefit going on of like, this is gonna take like the solid next 5 minutes, I have to do this, but it's probably gonna be pretty good by the time it's done. So it's trying to find that balance of can I afford to let this sit and just kind of be okay, or just do I need to dedicate time to dealing with this right now as it comes?
Nice. Thank you all. And I will add to that, I feel like a lot of my strongest writing comes when I'm writing in community. So I will have those moments, those little nuggets, those great lines, or even the start of a piece when I'm on my own. But often when you're in a workshop or when you're in a setting where other people are writing at the same time as you, it fuels a different part, I think, of your creativity or your energy. And I have found very often that I will be inspired, and in a very short, whether it's a 5-minute quick write or a 10-minute quick write, I will be surprised at what I created in such a short amount of time. It might not always be a finished piece, and it might be when I go back and revise, but I definitely think that's one of the beautiful things I witnessed is each of you growing as we've done more and more activities where we've been able to write in community. And so I'm going to give a shout out right now. Tuesday, May 4th, Friday, May 7th. Next week, we have 2 awesome workshops. The first one is with Tristan Marshall and Stacy Eden, and that is 6 to 7:30 Pacific time or Mountain Standard Time. Check your time zone if you're not one of those two. But that is really cool because they are going to be teaching about using research, rhythm, and rhyme to level up your word choice. So how do you research for poetry, for writing poetry? And how do you use music and the accessibility of music to strengthen the rhythm and the flow of your poems, whether you choose to use rhyme or not? So I'm really excited. It's 2 workshops in one, essentially, with 2 great artists. That is Tuesday. And then one of our Youth Leadership Committee members who is not on this call, but will be leading on Friday is Samantha. And that is a food and family workshop. So Sam is a mama, and Mother's Day is around the corner. So we are inviting all moms and everyone who would like to create something for a mom in their life to come to us on Friday. We will be exploring food and family through poetry and recipes, but using them to create individualized gifts for the people in our lives. And so we are so excited. And so yes, I hope that you all join us on Tuesday and Friday as well next week to get some community writing, and we look forward to it. Let's jump for a minute to one more question. This is for all of you. Maybe just take like a 30-second, because it's a quick answer. If you could listen to a song on repeat right now today, and if you can't think of an exact song, you could give me an artist. Who would it be? So it has to be literally, you're going to turn it on and you're just going to hear it over and over, either a song or an album or a particular artist. Who would that be? I know mine right now would either be Bob Marley or Nako and Medicine for the People. Those are my jams right now. So I could listen on repeat to Bob Marley any day of any year. Nako right now, though, I could also. I don't know if there's a particular song, but as an artist. All right, passing it to Chandler. Who could you listen to right now?
If it's like if I can do it just like an artist, I would probably pick one of the real classical composers like Bach, probably. If it had to be like a specific song, I'd probably do Power by Kanye West, just because I've heard that song already so much at like football games and whatever else. So it's like, okay, I know enough to be able to enjoy the song, but I can also like tune it out whenever I need to. So it would probably be something like that.
Love it. Brit, what about you?
I'm about to expose myself. I am in love with Michael Bublé. No one ever expects it when I tell them. I know I'm coming out. It's really emotional. Yeah, Michael Bublé. I could list my favorite song by him. Probably Everything. You're everything. Yeah, probably that song.
Okay, that's cool. Pierre-Philippe, how about you?
I put it in the chat. For me, I'm a big fan of Paramore, and I've been like getting into that. I miss them. I haven't listened to them in a while. So probably Proof by Paramore. But I've also been listening to this new artist, Maud Latour, and she's really good. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. Also, on the topic of Michael Bublé, his song "Just Haven't Met You Yet." I was literally just gonna say that. That
Yes.
song bangs so hard. Okay, anyway, passing the mic. I don't know who's next.
Love it. Caitlin, we're going to hear from you, but I'm also going to ask Brit if you can jot these down, and we will share a post on our Instagram later and our Facebook of some suggested cool music to rock out to based on what we all like.
Okay. Yeah.
And Caitlin, what's on your playlist for today on repeat?
Okay. So for the song that I would listen to on repeat, I've been listening to Night Shift by Lucy Dacus multiple times a day. Absolute banger. And if I had to pick an artist, I would pick the Front Bottoms.
So cool. And I will tell you what is super exciting is on Tuesday in the workshop with Stacy, one of the things we're going to actually do is take some of our favorite music and look at those lyrics and do our own versions. So definitely come with your favorite music and love it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do one more round right now, but ask everybody to share a poem. And we're going to start with Pierre-Philippe because he's heading out, but we're going to just go around and have everyone share a poem. And then I have a couple individual questions for you, Caitlin, Brit, and Chandler. So let's have Pierre-Philippe and then Brit and then Caitlin and then Chandler share a poem with us. And I'm going to mute and pass it back over to you.
We're going to try doing this.
Ooh.
Okay, spotlight.
Yes.
We're spotlighting is what we're doing. I love
Yes, yes, yes.
Hey, this is thebomb.com, .co,
Period.
.uk, .org, .ing. Okay. Let's see. So I have a piece that I like to call, let me actually put it in the chat because I don't really know how to say this properly. I like to call it manipulated /ing. I think you can see that because it's supposed to show that what a relationship was like in which, you know, you're manipulated, but then you're also playing a role in that and you are manipulating. Anyway, okay. It's not even you. It's who I built you to be. Brick by brick. There was a spark at some point, and I've always been a fan of arson. The spark lit a match, a warmth I was too ready for. Soon a flame I thought would last. But fire burns out, especially when other flames are lit. It sees the magnitude of the fires around and realizes its own isn't keeping you warm at all. Or at least not like what you wanted. There were other matches in this box. Now I'm just an empty fireplace, brick by brick. I'm built a certain way, different from what I want to be, but very aware, avoiding the sparks, afraid of my own. Because if another match is lit, I will either be two things, completely indifferent or take a nosedive. But fire can't swim, so I'll just burn alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much
All right.
for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much, PP. I know you have to go now.
I do, yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really happy I could be here. I absolutely love all of your guys' work, and I'm gonna watch the rest of this live stream when I come back. But I love you all. Thank you guys.
Bye, PP. You are a beautiful poetry angel.
I love you.
I love you.
Bye. Okay. That was PP. Oh my gosh, there's so many fun little layouts that we can have here. I'll go next. I'll take away PP's handle. The poem that I'm about to share, whenever I'm asked to share poetry, I always like to look back into my little library of poems and see if there's anything that's speaking to me or that just needs to be revisited, because sometimes we forget that we have those from little relics from our past, and it's interesting to see where your mind was at during that time. So this one is called Did It Hurt? I asked you if it hurt when you fell from heaven, but I really should have asked if it hurts when you fall, because My chest is so heavy, I am stuck to the ground. I see you trying to pick me back up, but the red string is broken. What is there to pull? My arms have fallen, my knees have fallen. They are separate, broken. Yet you stare at me, stare holes into my insides, as if nothing had ever fallen. I asked you if it hurt when you fell from heaven, and now everything hurts, because you pushed me.
Okay.
That's another side of Brit that we just saw in that piece.
I know.
Alright.
Oh, I'm a hopeless
Okay, Miss
romantic
Vulnerability.
too. I know. It's only in my art where I really let people see that how vulnerable I am. Something that I'm working on as a person.
And I'm going to give a shout out because we met, and I know that you were very, very active in speech and debate, and now are graduating, woohoo, in theater and performance. And you were used to performing other people's work, not your own. And you were used to performing other people's writing and really getting in character to that person's person or situation, but not always your own. And it is so beautiful to explore multiple art forms when you're an artist. And I think that's the beauty, is that we find those different ways that we can express and explore ourselves, not just our artistry. And so, yeah, it's been beautiful to get to watch you share you in these moments of poetry in a whole different way than when we see you performing, whether that was speech, or the debate or actual performances.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. That is exactly what AMP gave to me when I needed it most, really, because I feel like sometimes I use art to kind of deflect against what I'm experiencing in my own personal life, but then poetry helps me reflect on what I'm experiencing in a way that's actually healthy and create something productive and beautiful. Yeah.
I feel like there's a new hashtag: reflect, don't deflect.
Facts.
Putting it in the chat.
Okay. So speaking of that, let's reflect, Caitlin, in whatever piece you'd like to share. I know you've shared quite a bit of poetry, thankfully, because of being a host for Speak Poet Saturday and Talk to Us Tuesday, and helping me actually launch both of those. But let's, feel free to share something that inspires you and that's speaking to you right now that you'd like to share.
Okay, cool. I picked this one out earlier. I actually texted my best friend who's watching. Hi, Carly, you beautiful angel. And I asked her which one I should do, and she picked this one. So this is a poem I wrote my freshman year of college. I'm a junior now, so about 2 years. It's called Tomorrow I'll Be Better. Tomorrow I'll be better. I'll empty all the bones out from my drawers and my sweaters, string them across the doorways in a desperate attempt to let them breathe. Let them whisper haunting hellos from those who inhabited here before. I'll take my skeletons for a stroll somewhere very, very, very far from here. And I'll come back with bloody feet and aching souls. I'll peel off all my layers, t-shirt, coat, and jeans, pretend my wounds are part of the decor. Purple and sickly green bruises complement the walls of my messy bedroom, and the shade of anxiety that consumes me. Tomorrow, I'll be better. I'll do the dishes and I'll sweep the floors. I won't bite my fingers even when the anxiety lingers still. I'll peel out of my own skin, sick of trembling from joint to joint, all of them connected with ligaments, yet something feels missing within. So I'll break all my bones in two to find something in my marrow, only hoping and praying that it isn't you, and tomorrow I'll be better. I'll fix all of my bones and put myself back together. I'll place the skeletons back in my drawers and back in my sweaters, and no one will hear any haunting hellos from who I was when I knew you. Thank you.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Caitlin, it has been a joy to see you go from, junior year of high school writing for a contest, and to junior year of college writing for yourself and for your artistry. And it's so neat. I know you're actually double majoring in poetry as one of those majors. And can you just take a moment to tell us a little bit about how writing, like career-wise, you're looking at using it in your career, is impacting you versus writing for yourself? Because those are very different when you have to write for a class or for a job or for a career versus when you're writing just for yourself. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It honestly really depends. I think that the biggest thing that I've learned when writing for assignments is to try to write for myself as much as I can, because then my most authentic self will come through. The really cool thing about my poetry classes, a lot of the assignments are open-ended, and it's just kind of like write a poem. Sometimes they give us prompts, but a lot of the times it's just write a poem. And when I was looking through my like portfolios from my 3 final poetry workshops, it was really interesting to see the way that I've grown just from freshman year of college until now. And I think that it's helped me be reflective and objective with my own writing in a way that I didn't know how to be before. I handle criticism a lot better. And yeah, I mean, I always want writing to be part of my life. In the future, I would love to be part of a slam poetry team and travel around. But I would also really love to be a poetry professor, because I just want to share the love of poetry to anyone I can, because it's always been a huge part of my life. I started really getting into it in middle school, but spoken word poetry specifically changed my life. So I want to give people the opportunity, which is also why I love hosting Speak Poet Saturday. I love giving people the chance to share their work and show off their talents, because we have some really incredibly talented people. And I think that giving people a space to share their work is really important, and it helps me understand my own work better as well.
Thank you. And that is something I've noticed in the formation of this youth leadership committee, is the growth that happens in so many different ways. And so in your case, you're talking about being able to receive feedback, and critical feedback. And I know when we start working with middle school and elementary youth, and then we go through high school and college, there is a growth that happens, not just in the writing that you do, but in your interaction with other people, in your social skills, in your ability to both give and receive feedback, as opposed to saying, oh, that's a great poem, I love it. Oh, really cool. Yeah. Right. And those are the initial comments that we give as we're starting this spoken word journey. And then it goes to really deep diving into the language, the literary devices that are used, but also really questioning the purpose and the theme behind your writing. So thank you. I'm going to pass it to Chandler for 2 things. 1, to share a poem, and 2, I'm going to throw my follow-up question at you. So you came to AMP in a very different way than any of the other guests today, in that you weren't a youth that was a part of our programs. You were already a community member, a college student who came to participate in our community events, and then chose to come and help with our youth events. And so I also know that you graduated, and your degree, shout out for graduating. Your degree requires you to use writing and creativity, but in a very different way than, say, Caitlin, who's specifically focused on poetry. So after you share a poem, can you talk to us just about how your journey with poetry and spoken word poetry has helped you use writing in different ways, career-wise, because I do know that that's a very different avenue that you write from.
Sure. Yeah, I'll definitely speak about some of that. But you wanted to hear a poem first, right? Yeah. Cool. So this is a poem that I finished writing today, mostly, and it's pulling on a lot of different themes from Greek mythology and some other places, and so this is kind of my exploration of that part of storytelling. So this poem is called Cassandra. Tell, O muse, of gifts, of fire and chain, shepherd and his sunlight kept in chase, river laurel, purple soil and stain, serpent circling the spiteful grace, tell, O muse of gifts, of daffodils, yearning towards the water's mirrored light, a tongue in equal yearning, only spills a borrowed heartache here and out of sight. Tell, O muse of gifts, of brotherhood, of sharing hearts and bread and bronze and plate, of sight, blood and sorrow, peace and wood, before the fire enters through the gate. Tell, O muse, if light remains our gift, what might we find to tell about its shift? So that, that for me was pulling a lot of different themes from Greek mythology, from lots of different poems of different myths all at once. Cassandra, the prophetess who is cursed so that no one believes her. Prometheus, who brings fire to mankind. Apollo and his chaotic love life. Narcissus, who is only focused on himself, and Echo, who is just kind of there and has to fall in love with him and can't do anything to respond. The Iliad shows up in there. So it's kind of, for me, poetry is best when it's pulling from a lot of different elements at once and is all still able to tell kind of a bigger cohesive whole. And that's something that I really try and pull from for when I'm writing. And yeah, I know you had a more specific question than that, Suzanne.
No, that was beautiful, and I'll extrapolate on that. But I think one of the things that I appreciate about you sharing that particular poem is we talk about poetry as being something that helps us grow, but it also helps us be reflective on what we're learning. And so often one of the biggest questions I hear from young people is, why am I learning this in school? When am I going to ever need to know this? And with poetry in particular, and writing your own poetry, it isn't so much about when you're going to need to write poetry, but it's when are you going to need a tool to process what you're learning and what you're experiencing. And so to take all of this, like you said, I mean, these Greek myths and these different literature texts and all of this information and put it in a way that helps you digest the information better, but also expresses a piece of you by what pieces of it you choose to put in the piece, is so powerful. And that's, I think, another gift. So many young people say, I don't want to share this story, or do I have to write about myself? And we learn about you even if the topic of your poem isn't you. And that's so important. So I think that was great. The question I just had was mostly answered because I said, how does it apply to other places besides just poetry? And you really brought in literature and how taking information that you've learned and writing about it is a way of helping you really better process and digest that information. So I have like 3 more questions. We'll see if we can get through them. I know we're a couple minutes from the end. So my first question is to anyone who would like to share. You don't all have to share, but we have the Youth Leadership Committee. I know that come June, we're sort of making a shift to expand and change it a little bit. And so we are going to have some space for some new members to be a part of it. So if we have people who are 19 to 28 years old who are looking to be a part of the Youth Leadership Committee and give back in ways that they can support other youth, what would be either your invitation or advice or words of encouragement to someone who's maybe curious about the Youth Leadership Committee and wondering if it might be something they would be interested in?
I can start. I mean, honestly, I know that the Youth Leadership Committee will be shifting around a little bit, but I know that every community I've ever been a part of, like I guess sub-community that I've been a part of within the AMP community, everyone is so incredibly supportive and loving and understanding. And I know that one of my favorite things about being part of the YLC is that I get to just hang out with my pals and create some fun events and host some fun events, which I really, really love. And yeah, I mean, it's really fun being able to design things that our youth can participate in and other people can participate in. And like I mentioned earlier, I just really love giving other people a chance to share their work. And within the AMP community, we have so many amazing connections with a lot of our slam poets, like the ones that I interviewed last month. So there are so many opportunities for people to get involved with it. And if you're already interested in what we do, this is just like sticking your toes in a little further and getting to see how we do it behind the scenes, which I think honestly is just as fun as the final product that y'all get to see. So there's lots of love here. And I know that that's not something that's ever going to change solely based on the fact that Suzanne created Arizona Masters of Poetry with so much love and brings so much love to it. So that's my hot take.
I totally agree, Caitlin. I think there's so much love in this organization. We don't just create spaces for people in our events, but we also just create it within the Youth Leadership Committee where we've become friends. Like we talk to each other, we text.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time where, Caitlin and I had to work on so many things. So we would talk every other day on like Zoom, and the vibes were just immense. And another thing is that like there are a lot of part of the leadership opportunities is that you can also get credit for school. Like I'm getting credit from my college right now. I was possibly not able to graduate this year if it wasn't for getting credit from AMP as an internship. Yeah. And that would have been bad. Imagine me not getting my college degree. So that was a big help. And then also there are some paid opportunities as well for people who need that in their lives. So that's just another reason to join the YLC.
Awesome. Thank you. And, I will say the internship credit is great if you are in college and you're looking for that, to be able to take what you're learning in school and also things that you're passionate about and give back to the community and give back to others, but also get credit for it. And we do have programs that are directly working with youth. So I know both Brittany and Caitlin had a chance this semester to actually be teaching assistants in the program working with middle school and high school youth. And so there are just all different opportunities, whether you want to be behind the scenes and you want to be developing, content or activities and things that can be done online, but you don't want to be hosting them. You don't want to be out front doing them. Those are opportunities. Or there's in the limelight, right? Where like Caitlin is hosting, Chandler and Caitlin and Brittany actually co-hosted an event. I believe it was last month. So yeah, the YLC is a great group. These are great individuals. I think what I've enjoyed the most is seeing all of you grow in your leadership and also in your relationships, and just people who had not met even before this, who are in different states. I mean, our youth leadership committee meetings have had people from 5-6 different states at the same time. And because of COVID, we've expanded to really be virtual, which has allowed us to keep those connections even after you graduate high school. When you go away to college, even if you're outside of Arizona, you still can be connected with other people who share that youth experience that you had within Arizona. So we have one more minute. I have like 2 more questions, but I don't want to keep us too long. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw out a question and then also invite all of you to share some closing thoughts or questions for one another. But my question is just around community. So I know COVID and this last year and being really cooped up and not being able to be as connected in person has been hard, especially for people who are extroverted or for things like performance poetry, because the vibe of being in a space is very different than the vibe being online. Although we do our best to create energy and excitement and love, it's still different. And being able to give hugs physically is different than being able to give like a virtual high five. So, what are your suggestions for people to stay connected in these difficult times? If they're not able to be doing in person. I know a lot of people are getting vaccinated and are being able to sort of visit more, but not everyone's in that position. And so as we're still gradually making shifts to some new normal, what would be your tips for people to stay connected?
Yeah, my tip for people to stay connected is to go to @Arizona Masters of Poetry on Instagram and or Facebook, because we post fun prompts. We have lots of open mics. We are always here to welcome you with open arms through the screen. I know that AMP has been a really, really big part of keeping me sane in this entire process. And also, I think that in terms of connection, it's good for the connections that you make with other people, but also the connections you can make within yourself by continuing to write or starting to write, and being able to express some of the complex emotions that really come up during hard times. So I think honestly, just that, and also just seek out things that you like, communities that you like online. A lot of the times, a lot of people will want to interact with you. So it just really depends on your interests. But my biggest recommendation is, once again, @Arizona Masters of Poetry on Instagram.com. Come check us out.
I totally agree, Caitlin. And to kind of like add a little bit something to that, something that I did at the beginning of the pandemic, I haven't been doing it as much because I've been super busy, but I would host random like virtual game nights and then I would post them on places and I would say like, just bring whoever you want. And sometimes I met a whole new friend group during this last year that I wouldn't have met. And it's not just Arizona Masters of Poetry, but just like friends of friends of friends, their family members, things like that, because we're all in a similar situation right now of not being able to see each other. So other people are also craving that connection. And it's actually not that hard to make friends if you just reach out to them. If you reach through the screen, as you might say.
Oh my God, no way. Is that a plug for the Arizona Masters of Poetry Reaching Through the Screen Festival that Brit just posted a cute little sign about? I think it is. Suzanne said, talk about connection. And Brit and I said, how can we just plug Arizona Masters of Poetry on this current Arizona Masters of Poetry event?
I mean, how can you amp up when you're not plugged in?
I love it. But I do think those are really important things. There are places that are doing game nights, that are doing, different activities online, and a lot of opportunities out there that are free, that are not paid, and you don't know until you explore it. You don't know until you jump into it, right? So go try different things online, jump into communities, find those places and those spaces that you feel safe, that you feel welcome, that you feel encouraged by, that you feel empowered in. We have one, of course, but that's not the only place. And so I do want to encourage people, don't be afraid to go to an event, and if it's not for you, to not go back, but also don't be afraid to go thinking I might not fit in, or they might not like me, or I want to go and just listen and not perform. There's a lot of open mics and other things that you can attend where you can just be an audience member. And sometimes just being in that shared space is enough to really lift you up and give you some inspiration. Yeah. And Chandler, did you have anything on that one too? I kind of like jumped in. I think you were about to say something and I just started jumping right in.
No worries. Yes, absolutely to everything everyone else is saying. Absolutely making space, finding space where you can, being with people. This will be nerdy, but one of the things that I learned about in school is a lot of focus on how do you make and keep relationships, like friends or loved ones or any kind of whatever that relationship is, on this kind of environment with streaming or like video chat or however. And one of the core ideas that we talked about when we were talking about that was time, finding ways that you can be together in however this togetherness is, and being not just being with each other, but understanding that it will take a little bit of getting used to for everybody. This is still kind of a new and weird thing for everybody, but it's definitely something that we can all adjust to and find the common humanity between everybody. And with technology it's weird. It's kind of a new thing, and dealing with technology, changing that, adding the technological elements to our everyday lives just takes a little bit longer. It takes longer to get into the groove of a new relationship. It takes longer to maintain the relationships you already are in. And so just allowing other people the grace of saying, hey, this is new, we're going to figure it out together. Hey, this is new, we're going to figure it out together.
You all
Yes, King.
Yes, such great advice from all of you. And I think what a wonderful way for us to wrap up. If you want to hear more poetry from these amazing individuals, you have to come on Tuesday or Friday or to the poetry competitions that are May 20th and 21st. Shout out to grant support and community support that we have, the Reaching Through the Screen Festival and all of these activities going on, and that we have cash prizes this year. We have never had prizes for our poetry competitions because we believe the point is not the points, the point is the poetry, and it's just the experience. But because it's virtual and we can't give hugs and be in person, and that is a big part of who I am and who we are, is just really empathy and love and family and community. We're giving some cash away, so you can go get something, you can treat yourself or someone you love. So May 20th, 21st, if you want to compete, you can go on our website to sign up for those. You can go on Eventbrite and sign up for those. But Chandler, Caitlin, Brit, Pierre-Philippe, thank you all for being a part of the Youth Leadership Committee. Thank you for all the work that you do behind the scenes and up in front. And it has been an honor to spend this hour with you. And I love all of your hearts. It warms my heart. And yeah, I'm going to end with a one-word ending. You know, I like those. So if you could give one word to everyone about how you were feeling in this moment, what would that word be? You can just jump in. I'm not going to like call in.
Okay.
Just whenever.
Okay, I can go. My word would be full, but like emotionally and like in my soul, because I am a little hungry and I do need to eat dinner, but like full.
My word would be sharing, because it's what we all got to do today.
Period.
It's always fun to share our time and our poetry.
Mine would be wistful, because I just wish that I could give you all a hug right now.
And with that, mine would be joyful. So we send you all off hoping that you are filled with joy, that you join us to share, that you leave our events feeling more full and happy than when you arrived, and that we encourage and inspire you to wish for things and to reach for them and see them as attainable when you have community and unity and communication. So much love. Thank you for being a part of this special edition. Thank you. Shout out to Brit for helping us have panel discussions and not just one-on-one interviews. And keep being wonderful, all of you watching, all of you on the committee. And we will see you at upcoming events.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.